There have been a few big box bikes that are standouts here on this channel, one of which is the Hyper Carbon X 26, or a bike that I turned into Project X, upgraded it, made it a 27.5 wheel set bike along with other things. Well, new this year we get another Carbon X, and this one is a 29er. A 29er equipped with many of the features that we've been wanting to see and are starting to see on some big box bikes. Now, a carbon fiber mountain bike at big box pricing, that's a gutsy endeavor. The 26-inch version of the Carbon X is priced at $448. This new 29er, along with its additional new components, $598. That's entry-level local bike shop pricing. So my expectations at $654 and change, which is what this was tax and all, well, they're gonna go up. Now stick with me until the end on this because I have lots to say, but for now, let's see what that $654 and change bought me. Component by component, a quick rundown. The stem, roughly 60 millimeters, and this is the same stem we see on most of the $200+ Hyper mountain bikes at Walmart. Handlebar diameter, 31.8 millimeters. Width, 635. Yeah, I know. Grips, Snafu branded lock-ons with textured rubber. There's a 9-speed trigger shifter, a Shimano Altus, and sitting beside that, alloy brake levers. Tapered styling on the head tube with the lower cup that looks to be replaceable. More on this later. The factory fork uses a 1 1/8" straight steer, and it's all big box. No controls, painted stanchions, and branding, HPRS or HPR suspension. It says both. And the 29-inch wheels may look familiar because these are the same wheels used on the new Hyper Explorer bikes, rim brake channels and all. They're wrapped in different tires though. 29 by 2.35-inch Snafu branded knobbies. On top of the tires being branded, there is another difference over the Explorers in that these have a quick release on both the front and rear wheels, along with mechanical disc brakes that are JAK super brakes. The 1x drivetrain saved 2 components, also the same one seen on the new Explorer bikes, and one of those changes, these pedals. Actually a step down, these are the same pedals I've seen on sub $100 bikes. The main stuff though, like the Snafu branded crank arms, which are actually rebranded HDLs, and the single 32-tooth chainring, just as it is on the Explorers. Not a narrow-wide chainring, hence, as many people pointed out in the Explorer reviews, one of the reasons for the Falcon Saker chain guide, which came out of the box not properly aligned, but it's an easy fix. All the rest, from the Falcon Saker derailleur to the same branded 9-speed freewheel, a 14 to 42-tooth freewheel, all seen on those Explorer bikes, those $248 Explorers. Oh, there is the second of the other changes, along with the pedals. There's a cartridge bottom bracket here. I suspect this is a Neko cartridge, just like on the 26 Carbon X. Lots of not $600 stuff so far, and then we get to this frame, which is legit carbon fiber. My 26er Carbon X has held up well for more than a year mountain bike trail riding, and I expect nothing less with this one, which adds a taper along with some nice new lines, internal cable routing, and graphics that, with one exception, make this look like a higher end bike. The seat post is 30.9mm and it's fit with a Snafu branded saddle. And tire spacing on this frame, for those wanting something wider, I would say maybe 2.4 would fit, maybe. So that's the package on this almost $600 carbon fiber Carbon X 29er. On the trail, surprise, I said I couldn't ride the local trails due to the quarantine and the state parks being shut down, but it turns out Wildwood is a city park. And that means riding is doable, though note, I'm taking it super easy. No risks, and I encourage anyone that's going to ride these days to do the same because we want to save our hospitals from any extra loads. But still, even taking it easy, there's lots I can learn from a couple of hours on the trail with this bike. First, and I mentioned this before with JAK Super Brake equipped bikes, JAKs, they either seem to be okay out of the box or only kinda sorta work. These are closer to the kinda sorta. I can stop but not lock them up. So once again, with JAK Super Brakes, the undocumented anti-lock feature. Also prominent is that I can climb on this bike. Now, big box bikes are, for the most part, not lightweight. And you combine that with their usual gearing, and they're very tiring on hill climbs. But this bike, having a carbon fiber frame, saves a bit of weight. It's slightly over 31 pounds out of the box, and you pair that with that 32-tooth chainring up front and the 42-tooth gearing in the back, and it's noticeably easier for working up inclines. Or at least easier than the 37+ pound bikes that I'm usually pedaling up these hills. And climbs are one case where those 635mm bars help a bit too, because there's more leverage available. I'll be coming back to those bars, but for now let's talk about shifting with that Falcon Saker and the Alta shifter, because out of the box this bike was practically dead on. It works easily through all 9 speeds, with one exception. Every now and then, if I rapidly shift from low to high, from 1 to 9, it'll drop the chain at the freewheel. Now, it doesn't happen every time and never happens when I shift slowly, but it has done it more than once. So post-lockdown, I'll let the bike shop look at it and see if they can work some magic. Now, I've already talked about this bike climbing, where the weight and the gearing work out decently well. The same holds true with the highest gearing, where it's easy to get this new Carbon X spun up to speed. And at speed, the drivetrain doesn't make much noise, and possibly little really, considering that this is a budget 1x drivetrain. It's a lot like the Explorers, where that Falcon Saker keeps things so quiet that cables rattling is really about the only audible feedback. When talking about this bike, and I use terms like carbon fiber, 1x drivetrain, and 29-inch wheels, those are all modern mountain bike terms, and each good facets to this Carbon X, though there are some less desirable elements, like the big box caliber fork. There's not much travel, and it's not very becoming of a bike at this price. And rider positioning, with those narrow bars, the ones that help me climb so easily, well, they're non-modern by mountain bike standards, and even the new Explorer bikes have increased width bars, so this is a curious shortcut here. And while they're good for climbing, their negative is that on the trail there's a very upright feel. Now, it's not the 18-wheeler sitting over the bars experience of some 29er bikes of the past, and even some of the present, but it is noticeably upright, and probably more so than most are going to desire in a modern mountain bike. And not all that is the bars, and I'll be explaining that more in just a bit. But don't let me paint a completely bad picture for you, because it's not all bad. I mean, even with the cheap fork, this is still a carbon fiber frame, meaning it's stiff, and there's the usable drivetrain. And the weight savings from that carbon fiber make this capable of light trail fun out of the box. The big question is the out-of-the-box form of this bike enough fun and a carbon fiber frame desirable enough to overcome a $598 price tag? And let's be honest here, for big box bike shoppers, that's some serious coin. And also where I get more picky, because my expectations do increase with the bike's price. And it's also only fair that we leverage this versus the new Hyper Explorers that I've already reviewed, because they share a lot of the same components, and those bikes are only $248. And as for why one of those components that carried over from the Explorer couldn't have been the wider bars, I don't know. At $600, 635mm bars, they leave me wanting. And an Alta shifter, new to big box bikes, and normally I'm happy to see them, but having seen them on the $248 bike, I'm not impressed here. And this fork, at this pricing, a major letdown. No controls. They did put faceted caps on it in an attempt to add something, but with only 60mm of travel, actually less than that, on a 29er carbon fiber mountain bike, no. At least there's the quick release wheels. I mean, if not, this would be game over, and I would probably just end the review right here. Continuing on, there's other less than impressive things, like seeing the same wheels used on the Hyper Explorers. Double wall, yes, but rim brake channel wheels on a disc brake equipped bike, a $600 plus bike after taxes, I don't get the rationale. I will give the tires a pass though. I do like the width, and I love that snafu branding. But I find these pedals to be almost offensive, and I wouldn't expect to see them on anything but the cheapest of bikes. And up front, the rest of that 1x, I'm okay with that, even though I see it on a cheaper bike, because it's decent. And the Falcon Saker derailleur too. A freewheel though, I mean, there are new $398 bikes at Walmart with a cassette, so why for $200 more are we not getting one here? At least they used a cartridge style bottom bracket, so there's that. Oh, but then there's the JAK Super Brakes, a crapshoot in the best of times, but for this much money, I think maybe generic hydraulic disc brakes would have been good, or maybe even Tektro Mechanicals at the very least. The carbon fiber frame. Now, I don't see anything wrong with the quality of this frame. My 26er Carbon X is held up quite well, as I've already mentioned, and this is a significant design update over that 26er frame, and I like the look. And there were no issues with mine out of the box, aside from a missing grommet on the internal cable routing. And like the Hyper Explorers, this is a 17-inch frame on a 29er wheel set bike. The finish also looks good. It's matte black with green graphics that look good sans the redundant Hyper branding. Subdued on the side of the down tube, and I like that, but Hyper again in green on the underside, an interesting choice. And the frame has that tapered head tube look, and it looks to be able to accommodate a tapered lower cup, and I'm going to look into that in another video, but for now, let me talk about this head tube, specifically the head tube angle. Now let me preface this with a thank you for Hyper, because I asked them about this bike's geometry, and what you're about to see is what they sent, and it's impressive. Usually I get numbers, but Hyper sent full technical drawings. And when I measure angles, I usually do so with my phone, and that gets kind of iffy, but I got 70.5 when I tried with this bike. And here we see on the drawings that the actual head tube angle is steeper than that, 71 degrees. And that's puzzling. I mean, carbon fiber is great and all, but other big box bikes now are starting to come with more slack head tube angles, even the Hyper Explorer. Both of the Explorers have a more slack head tube angle, so I just don't get it. And by the way, I have full technical drawings on those Explorers, and we'll cover that in another video. Now there is more to a bike's geometry than just a head tube angle, and I mentioned this felt upright, but it didn't really feel bad, and I suspect that with wider bars it may settle into a better comfort zone, at least a more modern mountain bike feel. So what's my opinion on this bike? Well, it is a carbon fiber frame and it looks to be well made. I expect nothing different because the Carbon X26 was a good frame and has held up well. But for $598, I expect better components, or at least not to see the same ones I see on $248 bikes. Now that's not to say this won't find a market, because I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to be happy with this. I mean, it is still usable for the light trails for which it is rated right out of the box, and it does look good. And by big box bike standards, as it is, it's lightweight. As an upgrade platform, I'm less than enticed, but for this bike, I'm already this far in, so upgrades will happen just over time. And now I want to know what you think. Would you buy this bike, or have you bought this bike? And if so, what are your impressions of it? Comment below and let me know. And if you are new here, I hope you hit that subscribe button and that everyone has the notification bell active. Thanks so much for watching KevCentral, and have a great day.